So there's quite a few videos on YouTube now, especially in 2024, where you literally can watch people pick up the phone, speak to their ideal prospect, and book meetings in. Two, three meetings on one video, you can literally watch them do it live. But there's not really a video where people show you actually behind the scenes what goes into it, because cold calling isn't just picking up the phone and speaking to people. Yes, it is in theory, but there's a few components that go behind it, such as generating leads, what software do you use, scripts, how do you test scripts, how do you keep iterating so you know that you can actually get better and book more meetings for the less work that you put in. And that's my aim with this video, so let's jump into it. So my goal in this video is to not give concrete advice on what is the best option, because truly I don't know. There's tons and tons of different ways to get data. I'm simply sharing what works for me, and this is how I do it. So I generate a lead. I generate a lead list. So persona, decision makers, location in the United States. Let's say employees between 11 to 20. Let's say I wanted to go after the staffing and recruiting industry. These are the filters that I'd put in here. So it's got around 2,300 new results here in the search. And what I do from that point onwards is I would use a little Chrome extension that is very, very effective. I'd recommend you use it, called Instant Data Scraper. So essentially what you want to do is as simple as press start crawling. You just locate the next button, press start crawling. And what this will do is it will begin to crawl the data in the form of the first name and the last name of the prospect, their Apollo profile, their LinkedIn profile, their job title, and their company name, company LinkedIn, website if it can get it. Basically everything that Apollo gives you anyway without the email. And this is essential for the next step, which involves lead rocks. So what you do from this stage onwards is all you want to do is just press start crawling and you just let it crawl. And that's as simple as it gets. So once you've crawled the data that you want, I'm only going to the 5th page here just for the sake of this video, but as long as it's below 2,500 prospects, you can scrape up to 99 pages. And that will come up to 2,500 prospects. So once you've crawled the necessary data, it's simply a case of just downloading the CSV file. So I've done that here. I've downloaded this CSV. It's going straight into my recent download history. And it's as simple as that. What you want to do from that point onwards is you want to essentially go into a Google Sheets and you can go File, Import, Upload, and you simply just drag it from your downloads folder here into your uploads. And you don't want to go replace spreadsheet, you're going to replace current sheet, import data. And this is simply what I do. So the next thing, I don't need any of these columns that aren't the personal LinkedIn of the founder. So I can go ahead and I can delete every single column here that I don't need. Go over here and I'll do that. So I've deleted every single column that I don't need, and I'm simply ending up with the URLs of the prospects' LinkedIn's. So that's simply all that I'm ending up with. So again, I just go File, downloading it as a CSV. It's extremely simple. And what I do from that stage onwards is I use a tool called LeadRocks. So LeadRocks is an extremely simple tool. I believe I got this from AppSumo for like lifetime deal, like I think it was like $99 for a lifetime deal. Extremely simple. I go into the enrichment section of this, and I now have my CSV, so I can simply just drag this in and click Start Enrichment. So with this method that I use, I've tried quite a few different methods, and generating leads has never been easier for me. Yes, there's loads of different ways you can do it depending on your niche. But again, because I only scraped 5 pages, it's going to give me 25 mobile numbers, which is not bad just for 5 pages worth of data. Usually with Apollo and this type of data, you're only going to get mobile numbers for, I'd say, around 10 to 20% of the leads you scrape. So for example, last time I scraped around 2,500 leads in the PR and communication industry. I think I ended up with around 400 to 500 numbers, which are mobile numbers. So what I can do here is I can just name this recruiting and staffing. And for the sake of this, I'll just call it cold call vid. Save to list. So again, I'm just saving it. It's really simple. Wait for this to save. Now this is saved, all I do is I just click this box here, which is going to highlight all of the data, and I go export list to CSV. And what this is going to do is it's going to download a CSV file, which I can then just import back into that Google Sheet, just like so. So I now have the new CSV. delete this first column here, file, import, upload, drag this into here like so. And again, just replace current sheet. It's extremely simple. Full name. So I can get rid of basically everything else. You may want to keep their LinkedIn URL. Let's say you're doing a LinkedIn outreach. Maybe you want to vet their profile before you call them. Job title can be useful as well. Location, we already know where they are. Company name, again, important. Company website, again, it's useful to have these things in here because you can use them for other outreach methods, and it's just helpful to have the data, especially if you're targeting your niche from different angles and different mediums. Company email, not really relevant. Company phone, again, that's not the phone that we want to be calling. Industry, we already know. Work email, so LeadRocks actually gets you the emails as well, which is really helpful. Again, we can use that later down the line. If we want to run emails to them or an omni-channel campaign alongside cold calling as well, and it's helpful to have their emails because you're going to get hit with the send some more info to my email, and you're not always going to be able to handle that. So yeah, get rid of all of this. Get rid of all of this bullshit. I'm leaving phone 1 because that is the mobiles that we want to be calling. They are actually the mobile numbers. It's always phone number 1. I want to drag that over to here. And this is the important part because obviously there's only some mobile numbers that are accessible out of this lead list because it's not going to be able to generate a mobile number for every single prospect. So what you can do here is you can actually go, I believe it is formats. If I remember correctly, it's data. You want to create a filter on this data and essentially just want to untick the blanks and press OK. And what you can do from this point onwards, because obviously it's got rid of all the rows that didn't have the mobile number. So it's out of range. So it's 1, 2, 6, 8, 10, for example. So what you can do here is you can basically just copy this data. You can open up a new Google Sheet and you can just paste that in, and now it's all nice and neat. So now we have a good data set to cold call. That is as simple as getting data is. You can, again, just delete this one, so you only have the good one. And that is essentially what I do to get cold calling data. It doesn't go beyond that. It's really as simple as that. And that is the way that I found to be most effective to get mobile numbers. Like I said, there's multiple different ways to do it. You can actually use direct mobile numbers from Apollo. You can use a platform called SalesQL, which is really good. Again, yeah, SalesQL is really, really good. Again, you can just use the instant data scraper on the free version of Apollo, enter the LinkedIn URLs to SalesQL, and generate a list of leads from there. You can also use things like use Artemis is pretty good. So there's a variety of different ways you can use, but yeah, this is definitely a good method for sure. So after I've got this data, the next question is, how do I actually call the prospects? And you've probably seen it from my tabs up here, but it's Skype. Skype is extremely simple. So it's saying my Skype number has expired for some reason. But essentially what you can do is basically buy subscriptions to be able to call unlimited amount of numbers, unlimited mobile numbers, unlimited landline mobiles for a set monthly fee. And I'll show you what that actually looks like. I believe for the US, I'm paying something like £3 or something. But yeah, you can just take a look at the options Skype has here. So I'm in Colombia right now, £4.25 per month for 300 minutes if you want to call them. UK landlines, £1.70. But the most important thing is mobiles. So for example, the US, so you want to call the United States, unlimited mobiles and landlines is £4.25 per month. So that's how I do it. I have Skype on my desktop here. So let's say I want to call the United States. What I'd do is I'd essentially just take a number here that I want to call, copy, go into Skype, call, bang. There we go. I'm calling them. It's really not much goes beyond it than that. The next step after I've generated the leads, I'm calling the prospects, is what I'm actually going to say to them. So during my time cold calling, as you've probably seen from the videos if you've watched them, I've said a whole different array of things on scripts, but the framework that I use stays mainly the same. So this was the first iteration of the script that I used. I think this was the first script that I used in my high speed video, which is, well, I was reaching out to marketing agencies. It's very simple. So I'll just go over it here. I got the voicemail script that I'd sent to them in the form of voicemail drops if they didn't answer. Essentially, it would just be permission. It would just be, hey, confirming it's the right person, permission statement, value statement, permission to explain further, 3-step process at a high level of our stage, of our service, going into details that actually align with the prospect's pain points, getting them saying yes again, does that make sense? And then the call to action here. So I made iterations as I went along, as I tracked key data such as positive response rate, appointment booking rate. Those were the two main things. You don't really need to be tracking anything else. You want to have a good idea of the pickup rates and the response rate, etc. Obviously, you want to know how many dials you're making relative to the positive response rate. That's how you calculate it. But the structure just remained very, very simple. So this was another one I used, just getting straight in there, assuming that I'm speaking to the right person because it saves time. And that's another huge thing with cold calling. Yes, you could handle an objection for 10 minutes, and sometimes that's worth doing. I would say it is. But in that time, you could have spoken to another 10 prospects and probably booked another 2 calls if your script is actually good. So this was an example of my script. I'd say, hey, this is Max calling from Sales Lead. How are you? So in this one, I tested going against permission-based openers and just getting straight into the value statement. This was what the value statement was: permission to explain further, elaborating on what my 3-step process was, linking all of this into the pain points. And this is what you want to do. So building out a unique value proposition, standing out as one of one in your market. When I was reaching out to marketing agencies, this was a huge pain point they had. Their offer and the way they were positioning their offer and everything there looked exactly the same as their competitors. So I actually linked this in to industry insights that I knew about marketing agencies. Another one was the feast and famine cycles that they dealt with when trying to bring on new customers. A lot of them were growing off referrals, so they'd have a huge month, 1 month, and then everything would drop off because there was no predictability. Sales as well, a lot of them weren't structuring their sales process properly. But call to action, again, I changed. So instead of saying, oh, it's okay if we book in a time for this time, I was wondering if you're available, maybe you don't have to though. I kept it direct, I kept it to the point, and I made it hard for them to say no. So I said, okay, cool, I'm looking to set up a time to chat next week, just to get introduced and aligned on this going forward. How does your calendar look on Wednesday at 3 p.m., let's say? So it follows a very, very structured process with every script I make. So it's the opener, usually it's permission-based, value statement, permission to explain in more detail, detailed explanation in steps, giving them room for questions with, does that make sense? If they say yes, which in most cases they do, if your script actually conveys what you're saying properly, and then you have the call to action. So again, that is the setup. That is basically everything that I use. Here's another example of a script I made. Pretty similar, just a different opener here. I made a video covering objections and how to handle that. You can go and watch that if you want. But essentially that's everything I do. The only other things that go into it are tracking, so how I actually track the metrics, so positive response rate, appointment booking rate, all those different things. I'm using a tracking sheet that I actually got from a course. I'm planning to build out my own one, so I can't share that with you today. But it should be pretty self-explanatory. Leads, you've got a structure of how to use the script. You've got an idea of how to call these leads in an extremely affordable and a predictable way. You can use a power dialer. I personally don't do that. You can use a power dialer on Go High Level. You can use one on Close. There's multiple different other ones you can use to just bang through leads quickly and get in a routine. And that's a key part of cold calling, making it a routine and making it a part of your day so you don't miss it. And do enough volume. That's something I would say. Make sure you're actually calling enough leads every day. If you're just calling 20 numbers a day and expecting to get loads of meetings and you're not doing enough volume, don't complain if you're not getting results. That's all I'm going to say. So yeah, that's everything in this video. If you want more information about what we do ourselves, you can check out my business partner's YouTube in the description. You can check out our Instagrams, and you can check out how we help agency owners in the description. So that's everything. Again, if you want to see more videos from me like this, or if you've got any other ideas, just put them in the description, and I'll do my best to make it. Have a good day.